I promised you earlier that I would show you how to get creative with bound buttonholes. The next two bound buttonhole techniques help solve two common closure problems. The buttons you've fallen in love with are too small for a buttonhole, or they are too large for a buttonhole. A little imagination and an offbeat bound buttonhole is a perfect fix. For example, when buttons are too small for a buttonhole, loops are often used. But you can also house a collection of buttons in one long buttonhole. Here's how. Make one buttonhole following the technique we just discussed, but make it as long as the space you would need with the multiple buttonholes, and so you can add as many buttonholes as you like. As before, cut the patch to fit the buttonhole. Sew the window and turn and press the welts. Now divide the long buttonhole as needed for your number of buttons. Make each division equal length. You can secure these divisions in several ways. Sew the welt layers together along the fold from the wrong side. Back tack at the beginning and end of each break. Press, secure the welts, and finish as a standard bound buttonhole. Or you can bead, bar tack, or embroider between the buttonholes to separate them. The next technique makes shaped bound buttonholes. These work great for a large button or for a novelty closure. You still can make a window as before, but this time the lips or welts are separate. First, choose your button and decide the shape buttonhole you want to make. You can make any shape you wish. Sketch your buttonhole shape exactly the way you want it to look. This will help you cut your lip and facing fabrics the right size. Prepare all of the fabrics. Interface the wrong side of the garment where the buttonhole will be located. Cut and interface the wrong side of two fabric pieces cut to make the lips. Cut a piece of silk organza about 1 inch longer than the buttonhole all around. Trace the buttonhole window on the silk organza with marker or pencil. I use silk organza because it presses very well and is not expensive. This is a workhorse fabric that disappears inside a garment when you use it. You can use it as a press cloth and as a light sew-in interfacing. Shop around. It can be found for under $10 a yard. It's a staple for every sewing room. Now back to our buttonhole. Lay the organza over the fabric's right side where the button is to go and stitch around the tracing with a short stitch, crossing ends when they meet. Always start on a side and not in a corner. Trim 1/8 inch or so inside the stitching and clip up to the stitching if needed to get a clean, smooth curve or corners. Turn the organza to the wrong side and press a crisp edge around the window. Make sure that none of the organza shows on the right side. Next, make the lips. Place your interfaced rectangles right sides together and baste a straight line across the center. Then, press them open, just like a huge seam. You can sew the window to the lips either by machine or hand, and you can hold everything together with a fusible tape like steam-a-seam while you sew. Just affix the tape to the window's edge and iron it to the lips strips. Finish the wrong side of the buttonhole the same way as before and remove the basting, holding the lips together. From the wrong side, it looks like any bound buttonhole. Now that you've seen how easy it is to make a shaped buttonhole, I'll show you some samples of how you can use them. Here, the buttonhole is the same unusual shape as the button. I wanted the two shapes to play off each other. The way I settle on how the button is positioned plays a part in how the seam in the lips is ultimately placed. You have that option. With this technique, the lips can even be different colors. I love this dog button, and no average buttonhole would work for him, but his shape presents a problem. This little pooch has lots of points that might snag on a regular thread-sewn buttonhole. I just gave my friend his own house. Here's the shape I started with, and I got the different colored roof by sewing a third welt across and perpendicular to the lips before covering everything with the window. With all this talk about lips, I couldn't resist making a pair. In this case, the buttonhole could be the message and the button an understatement, such as this small X, which could signify a kiss, or this tiny shoe, which could be a reference to someone's foot in the mouth, or even just a regular button for buttoning one's lip. I show this button so you can see that the lips don't have to be open across the full width of the window. If your button is smaller than your window would allow, replace the basting with permanent stitches, leaving just the right amount open to fit your button. This final buttonhole is rather dramatic. It reminds me of an elaborate Asian gate or door. The texture from the tucked fabric adds to the drama. I have two buttons that work with this buttonhole. One is a large abstract flower that is hard to button because of its shape. The other is a large antique button that is ornate with a dome. Domed buttons always take a much larger buttonhole than you expect. Sometimes the best approach for difficult buttons such as these is to sew them to a smaller button and sew another small buttonhole in the second layer of your garment and button the linked buttons from the outside in. Either way, this makes a handsome closure for a special garment. Well, that just about buttons it up for this season. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you the next time.